Welcome back to Southeast Texas Weekly. We all know the U.S. is currently experiencing an obesity epidemic. Now, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 1/3 of U.S. adults are obese. So, how do you approach a close friend or family member who is obese? That is a tough conversation. But here to help us navigate those waters is editor-in-chief and co-owner of Southeast Texas Family Magazine, Donovan. Thank you for joining us. This is a tough topic.
It is.
And with that statistic, it would go to show that probably every single one of us knows someone who is obese.
That's correct. And Texas ranks in the top 10 obese states.
Wow.
And with the southern food, I mean, think about the Mexican
the
food,
chicken,
the Cajun
yeah.
food, fried everything.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it any easier.
No, and the peer pressure to eat that stuff and have a good time eating it.
I know.
Because everything centers around food.
Right.
So in your article, it's called How to Approach a Loved One About Obesity. You talk about the factors that can lead to obesity, and some of that is, those are factors.
Right, and sometimes it's not a lack of control or someone being lazy. There's a lot of things that contribute. Genes, eating habits, how and where you live, attitude and emotions, life habits, income, all play a part. All of these things are contributing factors.
So when you approach somebody, you know, it's not an easy thing to do, and it's not necessarily a simple matter of just laying out the facts. And you know, you don't want to go up to somebody and say, you know, hey honey, you're fat. Don't you ever say that to your wife, by the way.
Or if you want to stay living in the house.
Exactly. or hey honey, you've gained weight. None of those things work.
Well, and when you go to approach someone, you're not telling them something they don't know. It's not like you're going to say you're overweight and they're going to go, really? I had no idea. You know, they already know. The problem is that there's so many people that are overweight that it's become the new norm. And so while they may realize they're overweight, they may not see an issue with it.
Right.
But there are ways to approach them. So we can.
And the issue with it is that we're not healthy when we're overweight. When we're obese, when we hit that mark, even if it's just a few pounds, your health issues go up.
Right. Sometimes it can be a life or death situation.
Absolutely, and lead to many diseases. And if you look at most, I think, of the medical conditions nowadays that older people experience, or people who are experiencing that go to the doctor a lot, most of them have to do with being overweight in some form or fashion. Now, keeping all that in mind, you've got some tips on how to approach somebody who is overweight, because it's, like I said, a touchy subject. You don't want to say the wrong thing.
Right. You want to approach them from a good place. You know, approach a loved one from a place of true warmth, care, and nurturing. If your relationship is estranged in a new way, you might not be the person to talk to them because they're going to think of you as nagging. It might need to be something that someone else approaches them.
That is so true. So if it's a family member, because we know those family issues going on back and forth with people, and if you and your sister are on the outs right now, you might not be the one to talk to her.
Exactly. And then also take the position of being legitimately concerned. You know, I'm worried. I'm concerned about, like we talked about your health. Remember to not offer that unsolicited advice, especially if you are that sister and you have that issue. You know, hey, don't eat so much fast food or whatever.
I might be that sister that gives that unsolicited advice.
You want to refrain from doing that. If they're not receptive, let it go. I mean, you definitely want to push the issue. If they are receptive, suggest that they first go to their primary care physician. Make sure that there's nothing else going on medically, all that kind of stuff.
I would think that it's almost like being an addict. At some point, the person who is having the weight issues has to make the decision. Family members cannot make that decision for them. So it's like being an addict in that way, in that that person has to say, I'm done with this. I want to live a healthy lifestyle. I'm going to take the steps that it takes to make it, and then pull the family in, and that's when you become really supportive.
Right. Right. The whole saying, you can't lead a horse to water.
Yeah. So there are steps that you can take to be supportive to someone who has come to that conclusion.
Right. You want to walk the talk. You want to make sure that you are being the change that you want to see in that person. Also, don't tempt them. If you know their trigger is margaritas and queso, don't suggest Mexican food for dinner.
I have a problem with this in our newsroom because I'm, working with a nutritionist who we talked to earlier in the show today, and everyone in the newsroom knows that I love Reese cups, and bless their hearts, they're trying to be nice, but they bring me Reese cups.
like big sign on the door.
No Reese cups allowed. Reese cups banned. So don't tempt. And I love the idea of walking the walk, because if you're overweight yourself and you're trying to give someone else advice about being overweight, it doesn't really hold water to them. Probably.
And that's also goes in the next point. Don't judge. We all have things that we need to work on.
Oh, absolutely.
None of us is perfect. So make sure that you're not judging someone. Look between the lines. I mean, there may be those other medical or emotional issues that's contributing to their weight gain. Praise the baby steps. You know, it's so easy to get frustrated, and then when you get frustrated, it's really easy to go, done, don't want to do this, bring me that margarita. So you want to praise the baby steps. Be patient. They may not tackle their obesity issue at the same pace that you would. You know, so if they're not losing weight or not doing all the things that you think they should be doing, please be patient with them. And then also love them. Don't give up on them just because they've given up on themselves. Because like we said earlier, this could be an issue of life or death.
Absolutely. Dana, great advice. Thank you so much. You can read the article, How to Approach a Loved One about Obesity, in this month's issue of Southeast Texas Family Magazine. That does it for us. Have a great weekend. Hopefully you got something from today's show that you can use in your own life. Have a great weekend.
Southeast Texas Weekly, brought to you by the Modern Vein Surgery Institute at Privity Clinic for Surgical Care.